All right, welcome everyone. So before getting started, I just wanted to extend our gratitude toward the University of Notre Dame, the Fitzgerald Institute for Real Estate, and the Church Property Initiative for hosting this conference. Thank you to all the people that are involved in making this event happen, and thank you, Maddie, for taking the post-lunch shift, real martyr. So my name is Marco Izzia. I'm a PhD candidate at the University of Wisconsin-Madison in the Department of Sociology. I hold a master's in real estate and urban land economics from Wisconsin School of Business as well. My current studies are focused on financialization of the built environment, sociology of housing, and affordable housing. I also do a lot of work at the intersection of Catholic social teaching and real estate. And it's exactly that intersection that we find ourselves here this week. Seeking to understand how faith institutions can solve the real estate needs using a Catholic framework, or Christian framework more precisely. So during the first session this morning, we heard about how faith institutions make decisions about their real assets, as well as how processes guide their decision making. And in the second session, we heard about how mission-driven entities, and more specifically their work, has beautified the built environment, right, both physically and socially, as well as how mission-driven financial solutions can be very successful. So now our panel will shift a little bit towards the practitioners whom we have to rely on when we're trying to be good stewards of our wealth as financial or as faith institutions, but we lack the specific skills and know-how to do that work ourselves. So our discussion will start with some brief introductions. I'll let the panel introduce themselves, and then we'll jump into some questions, and hopefully if we have time at the end, we'll have a Q&A session. So Megan, if you could start us off, just tell us about your background, how you got into the real estate industry, your career path, and what you do now.
Great. So hello again, everyone. I've moved one chair over from this morning. My name is Megan MacIver, and I serve as vice president at a firm called DCG Strategies. We're headquartered in Northern California, but we serve the entire state and really focus on providing a full range of real estate advisory and brokerage and consulting services to churches in California, as well as K through 14 or public school districts. So in terms of my background, I have a master's degree in urban planning from Columbia. I've worked in a variety of settings, from a nonprofit public space planning organization called Project for Public Spaces. So I've always been interested in what makes a place beloved and sacred and well used, and that was a firm that worked from informal settlements in Nairobi to Bryant Park in New York, using processes to engage the community that would be using that space to shape that space. So that was kind of where I got my start. I love cities. I love thinking about the built environment. I've worked at a private equity firm doing investor relations there. And then I moved to Jones Lang LaSalle, which is where Nina is also working. There I was vice president in a firm called the International Capital Group, where I was moving large amounts of foreign capital into the United States and advising pension funds and insurance funds on those complex acquisitions. I wear a number of hats today. I'm based in the Bay Area, as I said. I moved out there actually to attend seminary. So I'm currently working toward, I'm in the candidacy process, we say, in the Lutheran Church. I also am working in the parish where I'm working. I'm teaching Sunday school, but I'm also helping with a development there. It's St. Mark's Lutheran Church in San Francisco. We have already an affordable housing tower for seniors on the property that was developed in the 1960s. And we're about $3 million away from breaking ground on 2 additional affordable housing towers that are going to be intergenerational and interfaith. And so we're creating a campus there, and our neighbors is the Church of Mary of the Ascension, and so we're involving them as well in our efforts. And so I'm thrilled to be here, and so I'm coming from the Protestant context. I'm coming from real estate finance, and my work today, which is what I hope to focus on, is our work with churches through DCG. So we work with churches every day to help them figure out what to do with excess properties. And churches typically come to us with problems. They come and they say, we need to solve this issue. We have something pressing that we need to be creative about, and that's when DCG gets involved. So thanks.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Nina Farrell, and I am with Jones Lang LaSalle. I graduated from St. Edward's University in Austin with a business degree, and right out of college I went over and started working for the University of Texas system. So they oversee the 14 UT's real estate strategy throughout the state of Texas. And that's really where I got my introduction to mission-based real estate, and it became kind of a passion of mine. And I've taken some other directions since, but always kind of staying in that realm. So I worked at UT for about 6 years and had the opportunity to work on a really interesting project that was a public-private partnership. And some of the tenets of that project were things that I hear in this room and in some of the other panels that I've been listening to, which is the university had major deferred maintenance issues with some buildings that they had in downtown Austin. They spanned three blocks of real estate and buildings ranging from the 1880s to the 1980s that had all sorts of issues. And so the university stepped back and looked strategically at their property and said, how can we make this better for us and better serve our mission of the students of the state of Texas? So we ended up building a new facility on a half block for the university, and then selling a block to another mission-based organization. And then the remaining parcel we were able to monetize through a long-term ground lease. It was called Block 71. It's now known as Indeed Tower, because Indeed.com is the anchor tenant in what is now the densest office building in downtown Austin. Although the way that development is there, that probably won't last for long. I think that record will be broken here in a month or so. But the building itself became kind of a beacon to the community in a way to revitalize a part of downtown that had kind of been this sleepy section of downtown, and became a really cool opportunity for me to get my chops in public-private partnerships. So I left the university and ended up working with some private firms, but always representing those mission-based organizations. So today I'm with JLL, and we're a huge company, but I work for this small practice group called Government Education and Nonprofit Advisory. And what we do is help organizations that have a mission, but also have real estate, and to marry those things in support of the mission. And so we do a variety of different types of work, including portfolio, strategic analysis. We do public-private partnerships. We do all sorts of things to help a group, but often, as Meg had said, it starts with an issue, it starts with a problem. Someone comes to us and we try and help problem solve with them. I had the opportunity to work on what has been highlighted here as an incredible project, the St. Austin's Catholic Parish School redevelopment, which was just an incredible opportunity. I got to tour the facility just a few weeks ago and see the kids playing there. And so that intersection between real estate and mission is something that I find so exciting, because you can really see the change come out of the ground, and you can see people use that change. And so I'm excited to be here today interacting with you all and having some discussions about this topic. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Bryan. I was a 1998 graduate of Notre Dame, and then I have an MBA at Harvard. So I've largely been on kind of the private side of this, repurposing and recapitalizing, revitalizing assets. So right now I'm the Chief Investment Officer for EQT Exeter, which is the CEO of EQT Exeter, Fitzgerald, who's the namesake of this institute. It's a global real estate operation. My focus is United States multifamily, so I've spent most of my career building and buying and renovating housing all over the United States. For about the first 10 years, I worked for an organization called Clark Realty Capital, and we did we did really two things: typical multifamily housing and military housing privatization. So there was a big national program called MHPI, which was very successful, at least initially. I think it ran into a little trouble late, but the basic concept was the military owns 250,000 units all over the world that they can't get anyone to live in, and they don't have any money to recapitalize. So they set up public-private partnerships with about a dozen groups, or maybe 8 to 10 groups, all over the U.S. So we did a lot of that. We were in the business of for-profit multifamily investment, but we got to serve alongside of the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, the Marines, and helping them to meet their mission by taking these largely dilapidated assets off their books and rebuilding them either from the ground up or renovating them similar to what Nina said, setting up long-term recapitalization accounts for them, making sure all of the vast majority of the profits accrue to the military and captive accounts that would, inure to the benefit of the housing over time. So I did a lot of that. And about 10 years ago, I joined EQT Exeter to head up their housing group. And in that capacity, because of the public-private partnership background, I've actually had a chance to work with a number of archdioceses, but largely and principally the Archdiocese of Philadelphia, where we have done a number of large-scale deals, alongside them and with them. In some cases where we're effectively just buying the land from them and providing capital. Other cases where we're doing that and repurposing property, which I'm happy to talk about. But we've done about 1,000 units for, alongside Archdiocese of Philadelphia properties, including the Cathedral Basilica of St. Peter and St. Paul, which is the seat of the Archdiocese in Philadelphia. So some very prominent properties and some local parishes and some Catholic schools. And so, I'm kind of a housing investment expert, but I've done a lot of work alongside people whose that's not their primary job. And so it's been interesting and very rewarding over the years to, technically we are a real estate private equity firm, which has a kind of a negative connotation in some circles. It's one of the few, you can't hear me? No, I'm sorry.
Start over.
It's an interesting world. Like, it's the only industry I know of where you're defined by your capital structure. Like, no one says I work for a public airline, right? You work in the airline industry, right? Alongside over 20 years of doing this, I've got a chance to work with a lot of institutions and not-for-profits and religious organizations, kind of alongside our primary mission, which is really to make money in real estate for our investors.
Hopefully you can hear me without the mic. Yes, okay. So you've all touched a little bit on the work you've done with faith institutions. I was hoping you could speak a little bit more to some of the challenges with that work.
Sure, I'll start out.
Yeah,
It provides a lot of opportunity, but there are challenges, and it can come from a variety of different places. So the property itself can have challenges, whether that's what's built on it currently, whether that's the re-entitlement process that has to be done, or if it's a renovation, some of the issues we might be dealing with in those buildings. So the site, the projects have their challenges. There are a lot of different stakeholders and interest groups within any public or institution or within the church. And that is one of the biggest challenges, is level setting expectations, but also making sure you're hearing from all of those groups. In the case of St. Austin's Church, and I see my brethren here in front of me, that was such an incredible project because of the human capital that came together to make that project work. And Trish and Christopher, who are sitting here, were what we describe in the industry as the project champion, somebody who is there from the beginning, who understands what is the North Star, what are we trying to solve for, and never loses sight of that. Because especially in large redevelopment projects that go on for a very long time, it can be very difficult to keep that at the front and center of the conversations, and also to be communicating throughout the way to all those different stakeholder groups, how it might impact them. And that is absolutely necessary and at the foundation of this type of work, because at the end of the day, that's who you're doing this for, is to benefit those groups and the generations that come after them. I mean, truly, that is what mission-based real estate is about. So, that's a challenge, but it's an opportunity too. And so at the outset of these types of projects, identifying who are the people that are impacted and what is the best way to communicate with them is what I found to be a really effective way of kind of staving off at the past some of the challenges that will come later, and instead turning people who may be naysayers for a project into your greatest allies and bringing those voices to better the kinds of projects that you're doing for the community. So those are a couple of the challenges that we faced. But like I said, a lot of those come with opportunities as well.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree. There are a ton of opportunities. One of the things that we run into in our work with churches is an initial fear or suspicion of the consulting services that we are truly offering in good faith. So I'll talk about this more, but one of the reasons why I'm thrilled to work where I work is that all of the principals of the firm are real estate experts, but they're also active in their respective church communities as leaders in those communities. And so when we say we care about churches, we actually mean it. But even as I go into a Lutheran church and I say, actually, I'm an ordination candidate, there's still this sense in which folks are not sure whether we're going to take advantage or whether we have the incentives in the right place or our hearts in the right place. And I think that reaction is really merited. But I think one challenge too is the education that we do as real estate professionals when we go into churches. So the way I'd like to describe our role or my role is to make sure that churches become equal players in the real estate marketplace. And so, for example, if they're going to partner with a developer, they should get a development fee, and we need to tell them what that is and what they can expect and how that's going to work. And we really call ourselves really the owner's representative of churches, and we're structured in such a way so our compensation is base bonus. So if a church takes 2 years or 5 years to close a deal or doesn't do the deal, that doesn't change our compensation at all, and I think that really helps. Just make sure that everybody's kind of focused in the right direction. But I would just to go back to the education point, I mean, I think the way that churches could benefit from commercial real estate advisory services, but don't know that they exist and don't know how to ask for them. So a lot of our business development is saying, here's the power of this type of discernment work. Here are kind of the options that you have to learn more about your site. So here's what a land use analysis is versus a broker opinion of value, and saying, we would advise you to make this investment because you're, here in the process and so on. So I think one of the challenges is building trust. And our track record helps with that, of course, but just the patience that it takes. I think we were talking about that this morning, that, the time frame for commercial real estate or just market-driven factors is not church timing. And sometimes we put in so much work and we do so much analysis and we're ready to do a deal, and then folks are not ready to transact at that moment, and then that's lost. And so that can be, that's certainly a challenge. Yeah.